but former Crystal Palace owner Mr. Simon Jordan sitting with me this morning, right beside me here in studio at talkSPORT, and we're talking Palace. It hasn't gone well for Crystal Palace, especially of late in the Premier League, yet to win a game in 2023. How do they change that, and is Vieira the man to guide them through the trouble? Guy is a big Crystal Palace fan. Guy, you'll be pleased to know Mr. Jordan is alongside me. What would you like to say? Good morning.
Hi there, Jim, and hi, Simon.
Morning.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about this, and I've seen this coming for quite a while because we've had a really tough run of games, and I just think that, I mean, I know you guys have got to do a show, we've got to sell newspapers, but there really is no panic for Palace. I mean, we've got some very easy games coming up, and as Simon said, we're 12th, and to be so reactive and just go, oh, kick Vieira out, it's a crazy world. Look at Arteta. Look at his start. Give people time.
Yeah, I know, but you look at where we are in terms of where we're at in the season. You're getting through March now, Guy, and you've yet to win a game in 2023. And last night, apart from 2 early chances, there was not much else.
Did you watch the game, Jim?
I was there, yeah.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, you know, if I was looking at the two teams, I watched it as well, and I'm not seeing a hell of a lot of difference. If you look at the stats, amount of shots, possession, you know, Brighton, you know, if you looked at those two teams and you didn't know, you know, one was a great team, one was out of form, you wouldn't have known.
Maybe not, but at the end of the day, it's results that matter, isn't it? And Simon, you know, Brighton got the 3 points, Palace left with nothing. At the end of the day, that's what history tells us.
Sure, but I also concur with Guy's view. I mean, I don't think these games coming up are easy games because they're games that people are scrapping to stay in the division with. So when we get Leicester, Leeds, Southampton and Everton, those are teams that are around the bottom of the table fighting. If we have the right mentality, which I think the players will have, then we'll get points out of those games. And I do think that looking at the games that we've played in, we have had a run of games that have been very difficult. I'm not entirely sure Aston Villa fall into that section. And of course, a couple of times this season, I think we've let ourselves down by losing to Nottingham Forest when they weren't in a good vein of form. But Palace are not going to get relegated. Now, whether that means that the stability that Patrick Vieira is building is enough for those guys that own Palace to build upon and go forward with him is a different discussion. But I don't believe that Palace will be getting relegated this season or anywhere near it.
Okay, so no panic here. Gary, big Palace fan. Gary, good morning. Do you share this sense of optimism that Palace will survive?
Hello?
Hi, Gary. Yeah, you with us? Are you still optimistic that you'll survive?
Yeah, I think we will survive. My view is that there's two towers to this. I think there's frustration from the fans and there's frustration from Vieira towards the board. I don't think he got the players he wanted in January. I think we are a little bit weak in depth. But there was always going to be a slip for Palace coming into this period of time. The story that really hasn't been told is that Palace have only played one team outside of the top 10 since New Year. So the run started with Spurs. The lowest team we've played were 11th, which was Aston Villa. So Simon's right. There is a range of games that are winnable that are due to come up.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is you need form going into those games. And I think that's my concern, is there's a lack of form. There's a lack of shots on target. I think we went 2.5 games without a shot on target. Vieira likes to play IU because he holds the ball up well, but I think we need to put some structure in there, give people like Will Hughes a run, build some creativity, and just have more shots.
Yeah, but Gary, obviously you know your team, and I watched them closely last night. Do you not agree with me? You need to get more from Zaha. You need more from the likes of Michael Olise, even though he's a youngster, he's a young kid. Yes, I agree. From Jeffrey Schlupp, from other players around them, you need more. I mean, he took off Czech Omar Doucouré last night because he was running the risk of getting a second yellow card.
I think we've got people that were carrying in the squad that have passed it. People like Milivojevic, Schlupp, I think, to be honest with you, I'm not sure they're going to last the full season and give us enough strength for what we need. We've got too many similar players, and Zaha, I think, he's already in the exit lounge, personally. So I think relying on him, whilst I know he'll give everything to the club, I think there's probably other things playing on his mind. People like Eze, I think he's a greater run, but I think it's back to basics. There's a stat that came out last week that stated that Crystal Palace, I think, run on average, across the season, 97 or 98 kilometres.
Yeah.
The nearest side to them is 105. We're bottom by about 8 kilometres a game, on average.
Sure.
You just need to run harder, work harder.
Work harder. I think that's the message that comes out. I think that's the bottom line. To be honest, before I go to Charlie, Vieira needs more out these players.
Yes, of course he does, but he needs to set them up better at times as well. So they're all not punching the weight that you would expect them to. The players aren't delivering outcomes. And the coach, I wonder if things like Sean Derry not being involved in the coaching setup anymore has created a ripple effect. There's a whole raft of things that are seeming to be going on behind the scenes, but bottom lining it, I don't believe, not because I've got some blind support for Palace, that they'll get dragged into a relegation battle.
Okay. Charlie, let's hear from you. Were you there last night, Charlie?
I wasn't myself, no.
Okay.
Good show, boys.
All right, thank you very much. So, Charlie, what needs to be done? Obviously, you've got to win a game, and you haven't managed to do that this year.
No, we haven't. I think you've had two very sensible Crystal Palace fans on there. I think I've been to a few of the away games in recent weeks, where it was at Aston Villa when we lost 1-0, and that's when the fans started to kind of turn on them, particularly the away fans have started to turn on Vieira, I think. And I, for one, don't actually understand what on earth they're on about, to be completely honest. I know the run of form has been awful. A couple of the callers before have mentioned the games we've had. But at the end of the day, we're Crystal Palace Football Club. And some of these football fans need to get it into their head that we've got one of the smallest budgets in the league. We haven't spent any money. And for us to go away from home to Brighton, who are flying at 7th, and expect results. And I've been to games at Man City where we've lost, went 2-0 up, and Haaland scored a hat-trick. And the fans started turning on us towards the end of that game as well. And I sometimes do have to scratch my eyes and remind myself, I nearly didn't have a football club when I was 8 years old because it was going to go under, and I'm just happy we're playing football in the Premier League. And some of these fans need to understand, have a bit of an eye opener of who we're playing against week in, week out, and actually just be grateful for the fact we're in the league. Because to be honest, we shouldn't be really when you look at the stature of clubs that are in the Championship and League One. And I wouldn't really mind if we went down because I think it'd be a great fun in the away days in the Championship.
I don't think most fans would agree with you on that, Charlie. But
Charlie.
You have a degree of realism, or shall we just say that? I mean, Simon, the bottom line is they know there's a bit to do yet. There's a fair shift to put in yet before they can declare themselves
But the thing
safe.
is, Palace have been in the Premier League for 10 years now. So they're an established Premier League club. They'll have a Premier League wage bill. And when you've got teams like Brighton and Brentford doing what they're doing, then the argument starts to dissipate.
Yeah.
And when you've got people like Tony Bloom that's probably not got the same wealth as some of the shareholders that own Crystal Palace, the fans are going to ask questions. I do agree to some point that you've got to manage your expectations. I don't agree with Charlie that there is any nobility in going back to the Championship. There's nothing in the Championship for you. If you've been in the Premier League, it's all sunshine and light and listening to the Boo Radleys. If you go back down to the Championship, you're listening to the Specials Ghost Town and going back to a bunch of football clubs you never want to see again. So all of those things, whilst you might think it's fun to go away on away days to Crewe or to Bristol City, because I mentioned them again because all their fans got up in arms when I mentioned them last week. But the bottom line is that no, you need to be in the Premier League. That's where the sun shines.
Yeah.
That's where people want to see football. That's the stardust. So Palace have got to get a better set of outcomes. And in these next 4 games, if Vieira doesn't pull out results, the players and Vieira don't pull out results, then I might change my tune, because you've got 4 teams around you, Leicester, Southampton, Everton, and one other that I can't remember off the top of my head who they're playing, are all in the cart themselves. So, these are the games that Palace need to get something out of.
Sure are. And of course, next up for Crystal Palace, it would be, wouldn't it? It is Arsenal at the Emirates, and Patrick Vieira, for one, knows all about them. We shall see. Good night last night at the Amex. Brighton flying right now, that is for sure. How far can they take it? We're coming up to 11:15.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.